There you go.
There we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome, as always, to the Priestess View. We are so grateful that you joined us. I'm Goddess Rhonda, and we have with us our beautiful Goddess Star.
Hi, everyone. Merry meet. Good to have everyone here tonight.
And as always, before we begin, we like to cast a circle of protection around us. Just get my smudge going here. All hail, our lords and ladies of the East, our brothers and sisters, our brother and patron, the sacred element of air, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee, my lords and ladies. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is.
Thank you. So it is. So mote it be. Bear with me. I have to take this sweater off. I didn't realize how hot it is. Okay. All hail, O lords and ladies of the South, my brothers and sisters, my brother and patron, the sacred element of fire. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face the direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is.
So it is. All hail, our lords and ladies of the West, our brothers and sisters, our sister and patron, the sacred element of water, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee, my lords and ladies. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is.
So it is, so mote it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the North, my brothers and sisters, my sister and patron, the sacred element of earth. Stay. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your directions, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is.
So it is. And we now bring down the divine white light from the sacred source of all well-being and fill our spaces with peace and protection always. So it is, and thank you. So welcome back, everyone, to the Priestess View. Tonight, we are so excited and honored to present the way too awesome Goddess Dorothy Morrison.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is our pleasure. And I have to say, I am so impressed with all the books. We're going to run through all the books that you have written. We have Utterly Wicked. We have Utterly Wicked, Curses, Hexes, and Other Unsavory Notions. We have The Craft Companion, the Everyday Magic series, including Yule, Moon Magic, and Sun Magic. We also have Magical Needlework, Bud, Blossom, and Leaf, Enchantments of the Heart.
And I'm going to say the additional titles, and they include Lucinda's Web, In Praise of the Crone, Everyday Tarot Magic, Dancing the Goddess Incarnate, The Whimsical Tarot, and Tarot Magic. Wow. Quite a few of them.
That is quite the library of books. So I guess my first question to you is, where did you find the time to write all these books?
You know, I think you make the time to do the things you want to do. You know, and I have always been a writer of sorts. You know, I wanted to major in journalism. And my father talked me out of that and informed me that I would be starving to death and naked in Kathmandu before I ever got my check. You know what? He was right. he really was. But that was something that I was, you know, good at in school. In fact, our high school used to enter me in the extemporaneous writing competition every year, and I always won state. And so, you know, it was something that I just kind of allocated to journals and so on and so forth, you know, for a long time. And I did a ton of other things that I could make a living at.
Mm-hmm.
And then, when I was, you know, in my early 40s, I was on the professional archery circuit, and so I started writing for bow hunting magazine, and I was on the staff of, I don't know, the writing staff, I don't know, like 4 or 5 of them, and that was great because I had X number of articles I had to do each year for them, and I got a flat rate, and so I could turn in all my articles at once, and I was done. And then someone gave me a copy of Circle Network News, which is Selena Fox publication, and it's now called, I think, The Circle.
Mm-hmm.
But on a whim, you know, I was reading through there, and I thought, oh my goodness, some of these people can't string 3 words together.
Right.
I think I can do better than that.
Right.
And so just on a whim, I sent in a couple of articles, and they were published.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so, you know, I was pretty excited about that. And, you know, it took me a while. I didn't ever really think about writing an actual book. And Trish Telesco talked me into that.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually opened some doors for me. And
that's
I got my first book published. And so, you know, it wasn't always easy. You know, when I got my first book contract, I was married to a man who really needed to be the big cheese.
Right.
And he didn't want me to be successful. He wanted me to be a housewife.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And so, you know, he decided that I shouldn't write, but he was home and awake. And so I was working at the Humane Society then, working 70 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I wound up getting up at 3:30 every morning and writing.
Wow, 3:30? Oh, man.
Yeah. And,
wow.
And at 6:30, I got the kid up, he got ready to go to school, got him up, packed lunches, sent them off, and I went off to work too.
Right.
And so I really think, you know, when you really, really want to do something,
right,
we make the time for it.
Right. I agree.
That was creative. That was very creative.
And that's really, I have to say, that's really dedicated, because it would take like an alligator at the edge of my bed to make me get up at 3:30 in the morning. Even then, I might not get up. I might just take my chances and just lay there, because it's 3:30 in the morning. So I really applaud you for having that kind of dedication.
Commitment.
And
that's
perseverance.
True commitment. Yeah.
I'm stubborn.
Atta girl.
And that's pretty much what fuels that. You know, when someone says to me, "You better not,"
right?
I will do it just to show you, even if I didn't want to start with.
Right.
Right.
I understand that kind.
That was pretty much my motivation. And you know, the other thing is, though, you know, I get really, really tired of people saying, you know, oh, I don't have time. Well, you do have time.
Right.
Yeah.
You just choose to spend your time doing other things.
Right.
This is true.
And it really wasn't that much dedication, lady. You know, when you write a book, when you have a book contract, you have about 6 months to turn in the first draft.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And generally, you know, and most authors talk about books as far as the amount of words you have to write.
Mm-hmm.
But for lay people, a book is about 300 pages double spaced.
Right.
And so, really and truly, all I had to do was write 3 pages a day. Think about that for a second.
Oh, wow.
Because if you write 3 pages a day,
right,
then within a month you have almost a third of it done.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I would write 3 pages a day, and if I was on a roll, then I would keep right on writing. But the next day, that didn't relieve me from my 3 pages a day.
Right.
Okay.
And there were some days when when, you know, it took me all damn day to write 3 pages.
Right.
You know, there's some days when you just stare at a blank screen and sweat blood.
Right.
You do what you must. Do what you must.
Until I had it done.
Right.
Right. I kind of wanted to ask you, Dorothy, how did you come by so much knowledge that you've garnered? I mean, yeah, I know it took a lot of time, but I would love to know some of how you gathered some of that knowledge.
You know, a lot of it was trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And, does this work? Does that work? But I think one of the best teachers was after I had moved to California and I was, actually ensconced in formal training.
Uh-huh.
Our teachers did not want us to work any magic for the first year.
Right.
And, and they were really hard and fast about that. Well, telling a neophyte not to work magic is like telling a teenager not to have sex. It's going to happen. And so, I made some real messes. And I couldn't tell anybody I'd done it.
Right.
I couldn't get any help because I wasn't supposed to do it strongly because I'd been forbidden to do it. And so then I had to learn to clean up my messes. And that is the best teacher around. Mm-hmm. It really is. But, we didn't have, back then when I was a baby witch, we didn't have the internet.
No.
No. I still had a computer that I had to stick a great big floppy disk in to boot up.
I remember floppy disks.
Yes, I remember those. Oh my goodness, yes.
Oh yeah, and when the little discs came, oh my God, that was just amazing.
Right.
We had something. We had a worldwide pagan BBS called Podsnet, and and this was when your telephone bill could be high enough to cause a divorce because you had specific they called them echoes. They were like channels, specific echoes that you decided you were going to download and frequent, and that was long distance. And there was no such thing as flat rate long distance then. We didn't have cell phones.
Right.
We had, if you were lucky, you had a car phone in a great big bag.
That's right.
So, and I know that you probably have some listeners out there going, "Oh my God, this is like the caveman age. This is, but we thought we were high tech."
That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
But something, we were from that what you call caveman era, okay? So it's okay.
People from across the world that way though,
right.
And we exchanged ideas and exchanged notes and all that good kind of stuff. In fact, we put together something that was our gift to the pagan community. And it's called, and you can find it anywhere on the internet now, it's called The Riders of the Crystal Wind, BOS. And it's about 3,500 pages long.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And occasionally, somebody will nab that and try to sell it on eBay. And so all of us, we all alert each other. And we write that person and say, "Okay, now, you owe us royalty."
Oh, good for you.
Take it down. But anyway, yes, a freebie, and it's been around, I guess, since, oh goodness, the early 90s.
And what was the name of that?
It's called Riders of the Crystal Wind, RIDERS of the Crystal Wind, BOS.
I am going to get that right away.
And you can. There are a lot of different download sites. Excuse me. But I think it used to also be on Sacred Text. Mm-hmm. That has all the freebies.
Yeah, it's probably on Scribed too. I get a lot of freebies from that.
Yeah,
too.
That's true. Yeah. So I'll have to try to get that.
Oh, I'm going to get it like before the night is out. I already have to read it immediately. So.
I'm following you.
There are a lot of short stories in there. There are just, a lot of spells, a lot of thought-provoking articles. Yeah, it's a pretty neat thing.
That is way too awesome. And tell us about your your background, how did you know, when did you know that you were a witch?
You know, I think that sometimes magic flings.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And I think it claimed me before I was born because, you know, I shouldn't have even been born.
Oh, right. Oh, I remember you were talking about that in New Orleans. I remember that.
At Hex Fest.
Yeah, my mother was on vacation. My mom and dad were on vacation, and she was hemorrhaging. And they rushed her to the hospital, and they wanted to do a radical hysterectomy. And my dad said, "Oh no, we'll go home and get a second opinion." And she was already pregnant with me.
Wow.
So, and you know, and as a child, I saw auras. And I didn't know what they were. I thought everybody knew people were colored on the outside. But I was in Catholic school. And so, you know, that was kind of interesting because my teachers thought there was something wrong with me because they would draw pictures of our family, and mine were colored on the outside. And they thought there was something wrong with my motor skills that I couldn't color inside the lines.
Wow. But you were coloring the auras around the people?
Yes.
That is very cool.
So, you know, I didn't really know what they were. I just knew that certain colors made me nervous. And so I stayed away from those people. And then when I was in my early 20s, I had a middle ear infection, and it all went away.
Wow, that's amazing.
And, you know, and it was okay because I think it was my defense mechanism when I needed it.
Right.
But then it was time for me to make my own decision.
Right. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So anyhow, you know, I grew up in a family where, you know, that wasn't something anybody talked about. And after my mother died, and this was funny because this was after I had written several books, and my mother had become a really, really devout Catholic. And so she never knew that I wrote those books. And, you know, I was real careful about that. And so, but then I found out from my sister that my mother used to read playing cards for people.
Wow.
Yes. And she'd do it like for her friends, you know, they were having a party or something, you know, she would do it. And she stopped doing it all of a sudden. And my sister said, well, you know, I don't know if it was because she saw something that scared her, or if she decided it was against her religion. But she stopped. And, you know, and it's really interesting, too, because my older sister is probably a stouter witch than I will ever be.
Wow.
But will not admit to it.
Okay.
You know, she just knows things.
Right.
And she just gets mad and things happen.
I wanted to find out. We have a lot of people that either call in or speak about, you know, being still afraid of coming out of the broom closet. Do you have any advice for them that you could say pass on and without them being afraid of being, you know, out there? Or any recommendation?
I think a lot of that is common sense. When you first meet somebody, by way of introduction, your first introduction is not, hello, my name is Sally, and I'm a Methodist.
Right.
Because nobody gives a damn.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we cause our own problems by volunteering too much information.
Right.
You know, my theory, I guess, is that, and it's probably not the answer you wanted, but my theory is, if you don't want to be burned at the stake, then you don't tell folks where you hid the gas can.
That's right.
You know, your religion should be as personal to you as your sex life is.
Right.
And,
you know, and what I discovered was, you know, when people first find the craft, they're so excited. Yeah. And they want to shout it from the rooftops. So, you know what, I get that. But I think, you know, your best bet is to allow people to get to know you first.
Right.
I actually I ran 2 Humane Society animal shelters for years, and I got called in to see one of the board members the day after I did a local book signing, and they fired me.
Wow.
And the deal was that, you know, they knew I was a witch, and they didn't care about that, but they didn't want the general public to know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
And so, you know, and there was nothing I could do about it. Nothing. Because I lived in a right to work state.
Mm-hmm.
And they can fire you for just parting your hair in a fashion that doesn't fit you. So, you know, all I could do, my only recourse was to file a complaint with the Department of Human Rights.
Mm-hmm.
And they can give them enough hassle so they might think twice before they do it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, after that was really interesting. Nobody had really known. Everybody that knew me, most people did not know that I was a witch. And I got a really interesting phone call from my then husband's job foreman, who, and Gary was, oh my God, you know, Gary was worried about everything. And, you know, anything that wasn't just white bread, vanilla ice cream, he was against.
Right.
And he picks up the phone and he calls me and he said, "Little girl, I understand you had some trouble today." And I said, "Yeah, I did." And he said, "Well," he said, "you're going to sue him, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, Gary, I can't do that." He says, "Well, you know what? You don't know if you can or not." He said, "But I'm going to tell you something, honey. When I know you, and I know that you took care of my dogs when I couldn't afford to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you came and sat with my child when he had spinal meningitis. And I know that you have done this, and this, and that must mean that witches are okay.
Wow.
So, if anything happens and you need a character witness, you have them call me." You know, and I was just floored.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Had he not had a chance to get to know me over the years, it could have been a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think people need to use their heads.
Right.
Or, you know, if you're living in the middle of the Bible Belt, I think maybe you should be careful.
Yeah.
If you are living in an area where people are a lot more open-minded, okay, take your chances. But I still think that it's best to allow people to get to know you before you start announcing your practices or your religious affiliation.
I do. Yeah. I do. I agree. Well, let's get started with all of these books that you have. We're going to start off with your book, Utterly Wicked, which you can see I already have a page mark in it. I won't tell anybody what that page mark is for.
How bent mine is.
Here it is.
You can see how thoroughly used mine is. It's all bent up. I'm
just make sure.
It's sad.
And so we're going to start off with that because, you know, we get so many questions about cursing people and hexing people, and self-defense tactics, I think, in any form are important because they keep us safe, you know, and while some people have no problem keeping a gun in their home or a knife or a baseball bat to attack an intruder, when it comes down time to put the spiritual hammer down, people are like, "Oh no, I can't do that. Something might happen to me, or the curse is going to come back to me." And so it's just great that you wrote this book and you do so much to explain, you know, the precautions to take and the things to do. And so that's why we wanted really to spotlight this book tonight being the operative word, because we do plan to call you back for the rest of the books. But for tonight, we're mostly focused on Utterly Wicked.
Well, you know, I think that's a good idea because I think it's one of my more fun books.
Yeah, honestly.
You know, I don't think hexing and cursing is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think that people should do anything that they're uncomfortable with.
Right.
or that makes them feel guilty in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
So, if someone is uncomfortable with cursing somebody or hexing somebody, then they need to, explore different avenues.
Right.
But I'm here to tell you that love and white light doesn't fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have to speak to people in a language that they understand.
Absolutely.
And I really do believe. I believe in the baseball bat or the whatever. What weapon of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In mundanity to protect your home and your loved ones inside it. But I don't think that people should hide behind magic. My rule of thumb is if I wouldn't walk up and slap you
Mm-hmm.
for something on a mundane level,
mm-hmm.
then I don't need to do that magically.
Right.
You need to own what it is you do. So I think you should explore your mundane options first.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But just for a second, let's just remove the words hex and curse.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we exchange those for self-defense?
I agree.
Because that is all
true. We do have a responsibility to defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And this harm none thing, I'm no longer Wiccan. I was for a very long time, and then I realized I wasn't a very religious person. I have a spiritual path.
Right.
And spirituality and religion are two entirely different things. But I think people have a really skewed view of their harm none law.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I agree.
Because when you allow someone to harm you, you've just violated that law.
Right.
Right.
What is that harm none? And as children of the ancients, I think that we have a responsibility to protect ourselves and defend ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to look at this as self-defense.
Right.
I don't think people should just go, out doing ugly things to the people.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes folks need to be stopped in their tracks.
Absolutely.
And so whatever it takes, I think is necessary. I can actually count on one hand the times that I have hexed or cursed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And that usually surprises people because I wrote that book. But, I don't take doing that lightly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And one time, I actually waited 4 years before I did something about stuff.
Right.
Simply because I wanted to make sure I was right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have an awful lot of self-restraint. When it comes to that. And I think people really need to look at that too. But I can promise you, I have never had anything bad come back on me for doing the things that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Never. And I just don't believe there's anybody up there handing out karma cookies.
Right.
I think that when we do things that we feel good about, we give ourselves good karma.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we do things that we feel bad about, we give ourselves bad karma.
Right.
Period. And sometimes we even hex and curse ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking those exact same thoughts, because that's interesting. Because a lot of what you're saying is so true, because we have a lot of people that are coming from a Christian background, and a lot of them still kind of believe in that whole turning of the other cheek, and they take the harm none phrase so seriously that they almost subject themselves to that negative energies themselves. So all of what you just said kind of, compounds that, like basically is saying how serious that is with it. And that sometimes in life and generally, they just take things a bit too seriously the other way or to the other extreme. And what you're saying,
they really do. And the fact that you mentioned that turn the other cheek thing, because
yeah.
even today, Christians have a skewed view of that.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, that wasn't a submissive thing at all. It was like, turn the other cheek, is that all you've got? Let's try that again.
Wow.
Before I whip your ass. Okay? and now, the Christian religion had kind of twisted that around so that it looks as if one is being submissive. But originally it was like, I've got God on my side, so you try that again, let's just see.
Right.
Yeah. But you have to see for what it is. They do take a lot of words either from the Bible or from different things, and they twist it based on what the message they want to give you. So
exactly.
The fact that you can say that you, in all this time, you can count on one hand how many times you've used it, shows that you're a responsible person, period. Not even witch or whatever it is, just a responsible person, because you don't take it lightly. But
Right.
it is something that you're willing to do to defend yourself, which I see no harm in.
Well, you have in your book all kinds of precautions and things. It's not a book that's like, okay, this is how you hex somebody. A good portion of the beginning of the book is whether or not you should do it. You've got a lot of good stuff in here. That's one of the things I appreciate. There's a lot of ethics that you convey
Honestly,
in this book.
I have to say I second all of what Goddess Rhonda just said, because I was reading it and I have to say I've always admired you. I've had one book that I forgot what the name of it was, with something to do with one of the Sabbats. And when I met you in New Orleans, it just became even more how much I admired you. And it made me pick up the book, Utterly Wicked in New Orleans. And I can't put it down. There's so much amazing information and insight, and with humor and with such ethics that you're saying. It basically is speaking in such plain language that, not that you have to be an idiot not to understand. It's not so much that as you're trying to explain there's more to it than just what the word means, hexing and cursing. There's more involved with this. And a lot of it you do to yourself. Like you say, you do a lot of negative things to yourself. So be careful about how and when you're going to be using it. It's just so ethically written and such amazing insight and advice. I have to say, people need to really pick up one of these Utterly Wicked books.
They really should. And I'm really glad that you mentioned about hexing yourself, because whenever I send negative energy back, I always add with, if I say, send it back to the person who hexed me, unless that person is me. Then you can just send it into the light and fix me up, because I know that my own negative thinking, I can really hex myself. So I like to use blankets where I might not name a person, because I can't always be sure who it was, but I'll send it back to whoever is sending me adverse energies. I send it back to them full force, unless that person is me. Then I send it into the light to be healed as I am healed, and take it from there. So that is very important, because I think a lot of people don't realize they can be inundated with bad luck, but it could be their own selves doing that to themselves, because they get caught up in a negative spiral of thinking.
Right. And you meet so many of them.
It's kind of like you get ready to go on vacation and you get on the road and you say, damn, I hope I don't have a flat tire.
Right.
Yes.
And I can assure you,
you can guarantee it.
Have one somewhere before you get back home.
Yeah.
Because you've already put that out there.
Yep.
And so, but this thing about, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit, and this is in Utterly Wicked. But this thing about sending negative energy back to the sender, don't do that anymore.
Okay.
Okay. The fact of the matter is that energy, everything is made of energy. Okay? The walls are the table as you are. Everything is made of energy. And as magical practitioners, all we do is move in direct energy and transform it.
Oh my gosh. I just have to interrupt you for one quick second. Sorry. One quick second. They said
the only difference between positive energy and negative energy is the intent with which it was sent. So instead of sending it back from whence it came, what you do is you neutralize that D and a E, okay? If you grab it, you neutralize it, you change it back into raw, pure energy, and you use that to your benefit.
Oh, I like that. I like vamping someone else's energy.
Yeah, it's called the Swifting of Energy, and I think it's on page 100 or 101 in Utterly Wicked. It's very
wow,
awesome to do. But you know, and the best revenge is living well.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
And turn it into cash or something.
That's an excellent idea. I just love that, to repurpose the energy to my benefit. I think that would piss them off even more than sending it back if they found out they actually benefited me. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. And I just wanted to let you know, Dorothy, your book on Amazon is listed for $1,200.
Sensing this negative energy, back. And my thing was, well, okay, so if they're smart enough to send me this crap, if I send it back, they're smart enough to throw up a shield. So now what we have going on here is a massive game of ping pong.
Right.
And this thing is gaining momentum with every swipe. And all you can hope for at that point is that your opponent gets tired before you do. Because it's going to hit somebody.
Right.
And it's going to be really nasty by then.
Right.
But if you use it to your benefit instead, correct.
I think that's excellent. That is so excellent. I'm so going to be incorporating that right away. Well,
and the good news is that you can also, if you're the one that's sending yourself the negative stuff, that also fixes that.
Wow. So it's got the double whammy effect. That's awesome. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Makes sense. It does make sense.
Well, what is it?
I love that. I love that. You called me brilliant. Thank you.
Well, you are brilliant. That's absolutely
No, it's the truth. As I read your book, I kept calling you brilliant. And I was trying to let you know, if you can let her know, Goddess Rhonda, I think she's hearing you better than me. Let her know that her book on Amazon is $1,200 going right now.
Oh, you've got a book on Amazon going for $1,200.
Utterly Wicked. That's what's going for $1,200 on Amazon.
Which book is it?
Utterly Wicked.
Oh, Utterly Wicked is now being sold on Amazon for $1,200.
Oh, holy shit. That's got to be.
Probably not, because people do that a lot with Amazon. And you know what? Someone will pay that $1,200. I guarantee it.
They will not pay $1,200 when they can get a brand new copy on Amazon for like $15.
You would be amazed at what people do.
But that's the thing. On Amazon right now, I think the brand new copies are selling for that. I don't understand, but...
Well, I'm on Amazon.
I'm going to have to go look because it's still in print.
Well, yeah, I'm on Amazon, and it says the Kindle is $6.99, the hardcover is $21, the paperback.
So where did they get the $1,200?
I don't know. Maybe they made a mistake and they wanted to put $12 and they didn't put the decimal point in.
That happens too. That does happen.
Probably what happened. I'm pretty sure that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Goddess, what is it that actually inspired you to write this book? It is so detailed. Did something happen that you said, you know what, I'm going to write this book to help everybody, or did you just feel inspired to write it?
You know, this was one of those books that I discussed with an acquisitions editor at another publisher. And they could have had that book, except that the publisher himself decided that I needed to write sample chapters. Now, I had already written, 13 or 14 books. He knew I could write.
Right.
And I was insulted. Not only that, they screwed me out of some royalty.
Ah.
Wow.
And so, Willow Tree picked that book up, and I was thrilled to death because Willow Tree Press's byline is books by witches with attitude.
Ooh, I love it.
Yes. And so this book, you know, they gave me license to write this exactly like I wanted to write it.
Right.
With very little editing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I began writing that book, I wrote a curse in that book. And yes, against the royalty thief and blah, 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 blah. And so, anyway, that was my momentum for writing that. And, you know, the other thing was I was getting really, really tired of, oh, you know, we can just love this person out of this. Bullshit.
Yeah.
And, oh, you know, we're real pacifists.
Right.
You know, we don't hurt other people. Well, bullshit. You know, I've done a lot of things in my lifetime, but one of the things I did was breaking horses.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a lot younger, and I worked with absolutists, and they're extremely stubborn. And you know, they're bad about biting and kicking. And so, when one would bite me, I would reach up and bite its ear.
Wow.
And yes, if one kicked me, I would kick it back. And you know, it's like, no, consequences here. Okay? And so, it's kind of like with people, sometimes, you know, if a horse can understand that, okay,
mm-hmm.
a person can understand that.
That's right.
Right.
A person often takes kindness as a sign of weakness.
Right.
So, you know, I believe that you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to stand up for what you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And, you know, and that comes with defending yourself. But, you know, this was one of those topics that nobody wanted to talk about.
Right.
And I really thought I was going to catch a lot of flack over this book. I really did.
Right.
And, you know, I didn't. I was amazed at that. In fact, one of the things that makes your book sales go up is a bad review.
Really?
Yes. If you get a ton of bad reviews, people, it's like a train wreck. They don't want to watch, but they can't help themselves. And they will buy that book. Big rocket fish. And okay, now I thought I was going to have to pay somebody to write a bad review. Now, I eventually got one, and that was fine. but, you know, I got a lot of emails from people going, oh my God, thank heaven. Thank heaven somebody finally wrote it. And I was just flabbergasted.
Wow.
That is so amazing. But you have to say that you did an excellent job with the book, and I'm telling you, it's awesome. From my point of view, I'm not even halfway done yet, and already, you know, I'm going on about it. But I kind of wanted to have you kind of give us some of the categories of hexes and curses that we can find in your book, in this amazing book right here, you know, so people could kind of, and I know they already started to look for it on the chat room. So that's awesome.
Well, let's see here. You know, there are an awful lot of things in that book. There are recipes in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, you can make your own incenses and washes and oils and, you know, stuff like that. There are some focus exercises for people. One of my favorite things that's in the book is the curse of the 11.5-inch doll, the fashion doll.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. The puppets.
You know, it's like the Barbie and Ken knockoffs. You know, you can find them really, really inexpensively at the dollar store, and those are the best puppets in the world. You know, yes, and you know, you can sew a puppet if you want to, but these are amazing because their little heads and arms and legs pop off. Stuff those body cavities full of all kinds of things. You know, you can stuff subliminal, God, I can't talk tonight. Subliminal messages up in the head cavity. You can suck a cotton ball in vinegar and shove it in the body cavity and give somebody an upset stomach. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do with these. It's just limitless.
Right.
And then you pop their little heads and legs back on. One of the best curses and the most fun, I think, is most appreciated by nature this time of the year, and hence it to the winter. You take when you start out with one of these fashion dolls, you take a Sharpie and you write their name down one of the legs, so the universe knows who the target is.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get a big jar of peanut butter and you put it in the microwave and you melt it, and you dip that doll in that peanut butter and you roll it in birdseed.
Oh dear.
And then you string it up by the ankles and you hang it outside in a tree. And you let the birds take care of that.
I love that spell. What if you live in an apartment? Can you hang it from your balcony? Would that work?
Well, of course you can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wherever birds will come, sure.
That's
and and the peanut butter and the seeds is good for them.
I was going to say, yeah.
And the plastic won't hurt them.
All right.
So you're feeding nature. You're taking care of the animals. That's awesome. I love that.
So it's just a matter of a little creativity. But yeah, that's kind of a fun one. It's a pretty nasty curse. You think about that. They're getting pecked the whole time. Peck, 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 peck.
It's just the thought of this bird.
I'm sorry, I know the visual behind that.
I know. The visual effect is just.
Oh, that is really good.
Awesome.
That is really good. And I love when you have in the beginning of your book, to curse or not to curse. When should we curse someone? When should we finally say, enough is enough, that's it, I'm going to fight back?
Well, you have to, really, every situation is different.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really survey the individual situation.
Right.
Yes, maybe something bad happened to you, but is it personal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Will a conversation sort this out?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people think immediately, just as many people who go, oh no, I couldn't possibly curse anybody. There are just as many people who go, oh, screw me over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to curse you,
Right.
Well, not necessarily. Are you pissed off because somebody got a job and you didn't?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't really think that's necessarily a reason to curse somebody because that person may have had more experience.
Right.
I mean, there are a ton of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Has someone hurt my child?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And it looks like they're continuing to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what? I believe if someone hurt my child, I would want to stop them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now, and but I think you need to also look at when you look at situations, is a curse going to fix it?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes a curse is not going to fix it. I've had people, email me and go, oh, this happened, this happened, this happened. And I want to curse them, and what should I do? And it's like, well, honey, that's not going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to bring back the money they stole from you. And right now, you're concerned about the money.
Right.
Now, do you want to keep that person from doing that to somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sometimes it's like, no, I don't give a damn about anybody else. I just want, what they took from me. Well, then, the person's not going to fix it, so we need to go in a different direction.
Right.
But you know, so I think it really is a matter of common sense. Is it going to fix something?
Right.
Because I'm all about practical.
Right.
And time is the only thing you can't get more of. So let's don't waste time here. Let's get to the root of the problem and fix the problem. Now, there are a lot of different things I think that need to be considered before you curse somebody too. When does this stop being help, and when are you just butting in? Right. I got an email the other day from a guy who said that his best friend was hell-bent on cursing his landlady. and he was all involved in this and this and this and blah, 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 blah. He was dabbling and all this stuff. And he needed to stop him because, no innocent person should get hurt.
Right.
And I thought to myself at the time, actually, fortunately, he was asking me about voodoo. And voodoo is a religion. I have never practiced it. And so I'm not the person to ask about that.
Right.
So that's what I told him. Honey, I can't. I'm unable to speak on that matter because that's not part of my arena. But I thought to myself, you know what? You need to talk to your buddy. But maybe you don't need to be meddling in that because he wanted to do a binding on him. Well, maybe if he does that, maybe the landlady won't get hurt. But maybe everybody has a lesson that they need to learn. And sometimes when you butt into situations, you can learn their life lesson.
Right.
So, I think that needs to be considered too. Do you want to own that? So, it really, it's kind of a thought-provoking thing.
People really have to think about things. I think people also have to learn to pick their battles too, as to the situations and what it is that they're doing. Because one of the things I liked that you said at the beginning of your book, you said, you asked, do you have what it takes to do a curse or whatever it is? What does it take to make that curse? First of all, you're asking do you have what it takes to actually do what accept the fact that you're owning that curse or whatever it is that you're doing, and the other thing is, what does it take to curse someone? So I would love to have you answer that for people.
It takes a lot of energy, but do you have what it takes? Cursing is a very primal thing.
Right.
And I think that a lot of today's young practitioners are ones that are just like starting out I think they're afraid of that primal kind of energy. One of the things that happened to me, there's another author that talked to me that, and she has kind of made a living writing knockoffs of my book. And
wow.
It's kind of
running. I'm sorry, I missed that. Running what?
To me, but it's not. But no curse necessary. Okay. However, she was picking my brain after Other Unsavory came out, and I knew exactly what she was doing. She was thinking about writing a knockoff. And I looked her straight in the eye and I said, honey, you don't know what happens when you start writing something like this. Your energy shifts. You have little kids. My husband's big boy. and he can handle my energy shifts. This is not something that you want to expose your children to. And, and I don't think she got it. But, I finally told her point blank that she was too big a panty waist to do this. You have to, if you're going to curse somebody, you have to have a set of balls.
Yeah, you do.
You have to be serious about it. And you were asking me earlier about with cursing and hexing and and we talked about how I could count on one hand,
right,
and what would constitute a curse. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my last curse, which was fairly recent, happened in May. I have a business credit card. Now, mind you, I have that credit card with a bank that I have utilized forever. Mm-hmm. I also have a personal credit card with them that I've had for 11 years. Mm-hmm. My personal card I'm not very careful about. I buy all kinds of stuff online, and it has never, ever been compromised, not ever. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, my business card that I had for 3 years is compromised. Mm-hmm. I called the bank. Well, actually, the bank alerts me. And so they're sending out a new card. Fine. They do. But this stuff happens. So, activate the card. 3 weeks later, it is once again compromised. Long story short, my card was compromised 5 times.
Okay.
In less than 6 weeks.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Now, I didn't have to pay for any of this stuff because the charges were denied. I spent a couple hours on the phone with the bank, and they're going through my credit card statements for the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. And they can't figure out what's going on either because I use the very same vendors. All reputable, have forever, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So they send me a new card. And I decide now I've had enough. I don't know who the hell's doing this, but we're not going to have any more of it. Mm-hmm. And so I make a copy of that credit card. And I put it, I write a petition on it. I put it in front of my candle. And I decide I'm not using that card until this curse is completely done. Mm-hmm. And then I take the leftover wax and wrap it up inside the paper where my copy is, and I douse that sucker with it sucks to be you oil, and I put it in a jar with graveyard dirt and ground glass.
Wow.
With a nice little reminder for whoever was going to compromise that, whoever thought about it. And I sealed it. And then I activated my card. No more problems. Done.
Wow.
But I was mad as hell. Okay? And the other thing is, for those of you listening, if you ever have had a credit card compromised or you're getting a new card, my advice to you is do not activate it online. Mm-hmm. Insist on speaking to a real person.
Right.
Because whoever was doing this had my security code and everything. And once it was compromised before I ever even got it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well.
Which tells me that somebody at Visa was doing something. But anyway, so that's the end of that. But yes, that warranted a curse because I'm a Taurus, and you don't mess with my money. Mm-hmm.
I wish I had that curse because I had something very similar happen to me about 5 years ago. It was a Memorial Day weekend when a lot of people will do that because you don't really notice anything's wrong until after the holiday's over. And someone had gotten my information and literally they wiped me out. They took $8,000. I went to the bank because I had to go and move and I had to go pay the moving men. They're like, oh, you spent so much money this week. And I was like, I didn't spend a dime. I was packing. And I had told them specifically, do not mail my new card to my apartment. I am moving. And thankfully, the person who I told that to had put that in the notes. So it was in the computer. Well, they sent it to my apartment anyway. And someone got a hold of it and they completely wiped me out. And so they gave me my money back right away because they knew it was their fault because they were told specifically, do not do that. But I sure wish I had that curse back then because, you know, they filed a police report and Walmart had them on film buying TVs and Going to the gas station, they would fill up people's car, and like if someone was going to put in $10, they'd say, "Give me the 10. I'll fill up your tank." They ran up like 50 gallons of gas in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And I was, I got my money back, so I let it go, but I still felt violated and angry. So I'm thinking now, maybe in retrospect, I'm trying to figure out maybe I should go back, because it still makes me really angry that someone did that to me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this was, this little curse is not in utterly wicked, obviously, but it was, I sat down and I thought about it, and it was just one of those off the cuff things. And my husband was so cute. He'd walk by my office door, and I've got my altar in my office, and he'd walk by and he'd go, that credit card thing's still going, isn't it? And I went, yeah. And that candle, believe it or not, it burned slow. It was one of those where it's a 40-hour candle, and so it should be gone, in a few days. No, a full 7 days.
Wow, that's awesome, though.
And that was interesting. I thought, okay, so it's taking its time. And, and I have no idea if this is going to hit. But when it does, it's going to be nasty.
Yeah.
But that's another thing, if even if this had been someone that I knew, I felt like, you don't mess with somebody's livelihood.
No, you don't.
Right.
And the rule of thumb with that kind of is, okay, so, I've done some things. Like one time, I buried somebody. Okay, and of course, I buried the prophet, and I said, "Oh my God, Dorothy, you don't want to do that, because, what if that person actually died?" And this was a horrible offense, a horrible, horrible, horrible thing they had done. And what I said to them and meant was, if I could get to that person right now, I'd shoot them right between the eyes.
Wow.
And we'll call the cops and say, "I did it, come get me."
Right.
So if I read in the newspaper that, they're gone, I'm not going to bat an eyelash. Because some people need a good killing, and this person only did. Okay? Now, when I did that curse, I actually left a back door. This person tried to steal my life. Literally. And so, the counsel was that as long as they ceased and desisted and never mentioned my name again, they were good. But all these things, and I listed them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all these bad things were going to happen to them if they ever messed with me again. And so I have actually run into that person. I ran into her a few years after all this went down. And you know what? We're fine. We were able to be civil. It was at an event. And we must be civil at events. And so it was okay. I actually got stuck in an elevator with her. There was only 2 people there.
Wow.
And so we didn't talk that much. It was just, hello, how are you? But it was a ride from the 33rd floor all the way down.
Wow.
But at least you were civil. That was it. Yeah. That both of you were civil.
He's never messed with me again, and we're fine. And she lives in our freezer. It has for years now.
Excellent.
That's really cool, though.
That is really cool. Now, I like the spell that you have in there, because there are people that they're listening, they're getting their nerve up and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. And they still have to get that extra boost of courage and bravery. So I loved your gimme gumption spell to help people get that courage up so that they can go ahead and defend themselves. Can you just tell us quickly about your gimme gumption spell?
Well, as I recall, now you have to remember that I wrote this book many years ago,
right.
And I have written about 3,500 spells in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that particular spell involves alcohol, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. And the only alcohol that you should not use is rum. And that is because most people use rum as a libation to the Lord, and some of the African Caribbean deities, and so you do not want to insult them.
Oh, I see.
And I am digging through here. I knew you were going to do this to me and ask me to talk about a specific spell. Okay. I'm looking for. There it is. I found it. My God.
Yay!
Oh, good.
Okay. This one is a really, really easy. Well, you know what? For some reason, I'm just looking at this. They said you could use rum in here, so they must not have made the correction. Damn it. Well, anyway, I wouldn't use rum. I would use either bourbon, scotch, or vodka.
Mm-hmm.
Or gin, if you think you need to. I'm not much on gin, but anyway, okay. You need a reversible candle, which is a black on white candle. And, if you don't have a black on white candle, my suggestion to you is to get creative. Most everybody has a white candle lying around, somewhere, even if it's just a little utility candle. Take a black magic marker and color the outside of it. Part of being a good witch or a good practitioner is to be able to handle things on the fly.
That's right.
And reversible candles are kind of expensive, and some places don't carry them. And the idea for a reversible candle is for the now you have all these dripless candles, but way back when candles dripped,
right,
and they dripped prettily. Mm-hmm. And so a reversible candle was one color on the inside and another color on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So as it burned, the color on the inside would drip out over the outside of the candle, so it was like reversing things. Mm-hmm. So, there were two different colors. And I like to do this spell on a Tuesday because Tuesday is associated with Mars, and Mars is the god of war. So any kind of a competition or a battle needs to happen on a Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And I like to do that when the moon is either it's either full or if it's new. You fill up the shot glass with the booze, you light the candle, put the glass in front of you, and you ground in center, and you say something like, confrontation is not my foe. It's not an opponent. It causes no woe. It is my friend now, and as such, it straightens out the cause of much confused and wrongful accusation, misunderstanding, and misinformation. It smooths out wrinkles while it mends relationships that might otherwise end. It no longer makes me sick, for I finally learned the trick that anger plays no part. Instead, resolution leaves its thread. Mm-hmm. That said, I now infuse with gutsy gumption this liquid for my own consumption. And at that point, think about what gumption and courage really means to you. And then you hold up the glass just like you're going to give a toast, and you blow that thought across the liquid to infuse and charge it. Mm-hmm. And then you put the glass back in front of the candle, and then you say, and before this candle it is placed, so its energies will interlace with my infusion to bring it power, as it burns by minute and by hour, to banish worries, woes, and fears, to banish nervous shakes and tears, and brings forth the courage that I need to defend myself with grace and speed. This gumption asked for now is won, as I will, but be it done.
Awesome.
When the candle extinguishes itself, you leave that shot of booze sitting in front of the candle, and when it extinguishes itself, you feel the courage flow through you, make a firm resolve never to be stopped on again, and then drink booze.
Excellent.
I love that spell. Yeah, it's really good. And I think it actually could be used for mundane things like, in general across the board, not just for doing the hexing and the cursing or whatever it is, but for just getting the gumption up or the courage up to do something that you know has to be done. Like you said, to defend your child or yourself for whatever reason. I remember a while back when my son was younger, he was being bullied. And I went to the school. You go through all the different channels that you're supposed to go to, right? And nothing is done. So I kind of took it upon myself, little as I am. I went in there and, I tried to speak to the principal. Nothing was done. So finally, I waited for the parents. And as they came out the front door of the school, I stopped them. And this giant of a man, the mom and the child was twice the size of my son. And I confronted them and I said, I do not want to have my son get hurt anymore by your son. Look at the size of him. And the mom said, well, take it up with the principal. I got kind of, I went there. I said, he came out of your crutch. He came out of there and this is your son and you have to take care of this situation. And if you don't, I threatened them. I said, I have a gun. Here's the license. It's at home, but I can bring it for you guys. And if your son touches my son again, and in front of the three of them, I said, I'm coming after you, your husband, and your son. Never happened again. And 6 months later, that boy and my friend are best friends, and they're saying, don't touch Darian because his mom's crazy. I mean,
you know what? Isn't it?
You just do what you have to do, basically.
You do what you have to do to defend yourself.
Yeah, and the reason I thought of that spell is because I said to someone, if you need the courage to do what you have to do to protect your child in school, this is a good one to try. So there you go.
Yeah, and the thing is, sometimes, sometimes you have to earn respect in creative ways.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said to me at some point, gosh, Dorothy, you're not as mean as I thought you were. I said, oh my God, did people think I'm mean? And so no, not really, but they're not sure what you might do.
Right.
You're impressed. And I said, well, that's good. I like people to have that kind of respect for me. But people should have that kind of respect for each other, for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because, the human condition is interesting. When we are really pushed to the limit, it's amazing what we do. What we might do or what we can do and what we will do.
That's right.
Right. You do what you have to do.
Yeah. And this is why, it's so important to defend yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. I think the world has gone crazy, even in the last few years.
Yes.
I am. Everybody seems to be offended by something.
Oh my goodness, we were talking about that. Oh my goodness, yeah.
And and some of this stuff is ridiculous. I'm offended by things too. I'm offended by people who think they're entitled to something. You're not entitled to the damn thing you don't work for.
Right.
I'm offended by a lot of things. I'm offended by people being offended, but nobody seems to give a damn about what I'm offended for.
Right.
It's like everybody seems to suddenly have a chip on their shoulder of some kind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is making them do crazy things.
My goodness.
People are getting killed over a damn pair of tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Some guy was on the metro going into D.C. Some jackass demanded that he turn over his cell phone to him. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And he stabbed the guy to death.
Oh, my goodness.
On the metro. But there were people standing there and nobody jumped in. What the hell?
This world is amazing. So many different things.
Amazing is right. But, you know, I was just appalled.
Yeah.
It's like, what? You know, that train must have several hundred people on it. There was only one jackass with a knife. You couldn't stop that?
It's true, yeah. You're absolutely right.
You're right.
It's like no one wants to get involved. They all feel like, you know, they all, in a way, it's funny. I was discussing that today, and I said everything is becoming too PC. Everything has to be done a certain way, or like you said, you know, everyone's getting offended by something, so let's correct it all, you know. And it's just, what are we becoming? What is this country becoming? You know, I don't know.
Well, you know, yeah, I don't know what this country is becoming, but you know what? I don't like it much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I'm tired of there being excuses for everything.
Right.
You know, we have made up syndromes and diseases for poor behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We have rewritten history because it's not pretty. We have done all these crazy things, and the latest thing tonight on the news was, you know, like, I don't know if you're old enough to even remember this, but you know, diet sodas used to be made with cyclamate. Do y'all remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Or not?
Sure.
Okay. Well, and they decided, I remember this because they decided that cyclamate caused cancer.
Mm-hmm.
It caused cancer in mice. And then years later, it's oh my God, all the beverage companies had to yank the cyclamates out of their formulas and redo this with some other kind of sweetener with aspartame or whatever it was. Okay. Then years later, it came out that the reason that cyclamate caused cancer in mice was because they were given these mice massive doses, and if a human being would have to drink, I'm trying to remember, was it 10 or 12 cases of that soda every single day?
Wow.
To get that much cyclamate in their system every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So it was bullshit. So today on the news, it's all about how bacon and bologna and smoked meats and probably, they didn't say for sure, but probably red meat causes cancer. And my husband just, you know, we just looked at each other when we saw that on the news tonight, and both of us are going, la, 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 I can't hear you. You know, we're perfectly healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Red meat has protein, it has iron, it has B12 in it. You know, it's like, you know, so let's rewrite our nutrition too now.
Well, you know where I think that comes from? I think it's the same way that suddenly you can't eat wheat because everybody is gluten intolerant. And what really happened was they genetically altered the wheat so that there's so much gluten in it that the body can't handle it anymore. So instead of going back and fixing it or figuring out a way to alter the wheat, I don't understand why you needed to alter it in the first place. It was perfect.
In the first place, yeah.
It was. But instead of going back and saying, well, you know, let's experiment a little bit more, maybe we could do it this way, the attitude is now, oh, don't eat it. It's gluten-free. Just let's have everything gluten-free. And then you can just eat that instead of fixing the problem. What they're basically saying is, you know what? We screwed up really bad. And if you eat this, you're going to get really sick. So we're going to just go ahead and divert your attention over here. And we're just going to say, oh, wheat is no good for you. Meanwhile, wheat and corn, they did the same thing with corn. Wheat, corn, all that stuff has sustained civilizations for thousands of years. It wasn't until man fucked with it, excuse my French, that now here we sit. No one can eat wheat anymore. No one can eat corn anymore. Everything, you know, these GMOs. And instead of them just owning up to it and saying, hey, guys, guess what? We screwed up. We're going back to the drawing board. We'll fix the wheat. We'll fix the corn. No worries. Like, don't eat that. It's really bad for you. Come over here and eat this other stuff that we modified, and maybe you won't get sick. So now probably what they've done is they've given these cows, you know, crops from from plants that they've modified yet again because they want to fatten the cow up quicker so that they could sell it faster and make more money from it. And now they've probably compromised the cow's immune system or caused something. And maybe now because of what they're feeding the cows, people are getting sick. But it's not because of the cow. It's because the human factor got involved because nature wasn't good enough and they just had to improve everything. That here we sit and soon it'll be like, you can't eat cow meat because it's going to make you sick or give you cancer. But it's not the cows that are giving it to you. It is what was done to the cows. It was man that's giving this to you.
Yeah, and I get that. But there's another thing, too. Now, to start with, guess what? I'm not gluten intolerant. I think that we have gotten so health conscious that I'm not sure it's a really good thing. I think you can go overboard with anything, and I think maybe we've gone overboard with that too. When I was a kid, we drank out of water hoses.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, our parents said, "I forgot to put your mouth on that," but my God, we did, and it tasted good.
It was good. It was cold. It was great.
I don't know a kid in my generation that didn't eat a mud pie.
I did.
We had to.
What's a mud rat?
A mud pie.
Oh, mud pie. Okay.
And part of that is, and even doctors have admitted to this now. I want you to wash your hands 65 times if you're gonna cut me open and rearrange my insides. Okay, fix me back up. But we have destroyed. Bacteria is good and bad.
Right.
And we have destroyed a lot of our bacteria, and so our immune systems are different now.
Yeah.
I'm one of these people that's hardly ever sick. Hardly ever. In fact, I probably have been sick, I don't know, really sick, maybe once in 10 years.
Wow.
I just don't get sick. And so, but my immune system's really, really sound. But you know what? I don't wash my hands 65 times a day. I wash my hands when they're dirty.
Right.
If I'm going to fix supper, I wash my hands before I get started. But I think we've done a lot of this stuff to ourselves too. Yeah. But we have screwed up our immune system.
I agree.
Absolutely.
By being way too careful. I'm in airports all the time. Schools and airports are the germiest places in the world. You got all those people there.
That's right.
And yet, I don't catch anything. So, part of it is, maybe I'm just blessed. But really and truly, I agree with you. So I know that all this stuff has been modified, and that's not good. Especially, I can handle it, but I've got a really stout immune system. Other people can't. And this is another one of those things about owning what you do. I don't see why it's such a big deal to say I screwed up and I'm sorry. Let me fix this.
Right.
They're not going to do that.
No, that's not going to happen.
No,
I know that's not going to happen.
Well, no, because they're big companies and big agencies, and part of it is the government has a hand in that too, because a lot of the farmers actually are working government crops, and so they're instructed on what to do, how to fertilize, how to modify this, that, and the other. And so, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the FDA is behind most of this.
No, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything has to be FDA approved before they can be put out. So you never know. I would not be surprised at all.
Not at all. And quite frankly, I think the FDA has completely lost their minds. I mean, you sit there and watch TV and they're like, oh, take this medication for your arthritis. But by the way, it could cause sudden death, suicidal thoughts, stroke, internal bleeding. Maybe you're just going to fall down and your eyeballs are going to pop out of your head. But don't worry about that. That's rare. And I'm like, how did this get approved in the first place?
When I see those commercials come over TV, it's like, oh my God, the cure is worse than the disease.
It is. It's crazy. And I don't understand it. It's like, oh my God.
How did they get past the FDA, right?
How did they get past? How did that get approved? You've got sudden death, stroke, heart attack, internal bleeding. You can't heal. It compromises the immune system. But don't worry, your migraine will feel much better.
Yeah, well, first of all, you'll be dead.
Of course.
So when I wrote in Praise the Crown, which was my menopause book, I got, you write a book, and right before it goes to print, you get something called the galleys, okay? And so your editor is done with it, and so you get these pages, and if you need to make changes or whatever, you read through it and make sure everything's okay before it hits the printer. So I get the galleys, and all of a sudden, I see all these damn footnotes. And I went, what the hell? And it was all these things that I had several little recipes in there, little herbal teas or something in there for different things. Something that had like cohosh and blah, 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 blah. And it was all these warnings. So I pick up the phone and I call my editor. And I said, what's up with this? And she said, well, herbs can be dangerous and people need to know and blah, 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 blah. And I said, honey, I took this to my family doctor. I took this to a clinical herbalist. And they told me these were perfectly fine for everybody. And I already had one warning that said, if you have kidney disease, check with your health practitioner.
Yeah.
I said, but the rest of this crap is bullshit. It needs to go away. Well, the vision committee, I went, no. The vision committee didn't do shit. You did this. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. Either this shit goes, or I'm buying out my contract. And she says, you can't do that. And I said, oh, yes, I can. I can write you a check right now.
Wow.
And you explain this to the publisher. How you lost this book. So, you have 7 days to send me a new set of galleys. And by God, she did it, and it went away. But it was like, oh my God, let's be alarmist here.
Right.
And she was playing with herbs, and so whoever she was learning from was telling her all this stuff.
Right.
And it's like, people, keep putting that notation in, check that with your health practitioner, that ought to be plenty. There are some herbs that are dangerous. For example, there's a particular kind of chamomile that pregnant women should not ingest. And, so you don't, you always put something like that. But, as far as I was concerned, her little notations were kind of like that Viagra commercial that says, if you have an erection for more than 4 hours. And I thought, oh, good Lord.
Whenever I see that, the visual behind it, I just crack up. And it's probably not funny. I'm sure it's very painful. But it just strikes me as so funny. I really probably shouldn't laugh, but sorry. It's funny.
Well, honey, it's funny to me, too. So, I'm thinking, I wonder if people actually go to the emergency room with that. Or they just sit in a tub of ice. I always have to wonder.
You never know, but I do understand what you're saying. I had a doctor say that to me when I was when I had Lyme disease really bad back in the 90s, and I literally just moved from chair to chair for like 2 years. I couldn't move. I was in so much pain, and I went to a support group, and there was a gentleman there. He was a biologist, and he gave me this list of vitamins and herbs that I should take that would help me. And they were really big mega doses of vitamins, to be fair. Like vitamin C, I was taking like 16,000 milligrams of that a day. And he said, if you don't get a stomach ache, you're not taking too much. If you get a stomach ache, you're taking too much. So I took all this stuff, and I actually started to feel better. And I told my doctor, and she says, oh, that's just way too many vitamins. It's okay to pop a multivitamin, but you're going to get vitaminosis, and you're going to get this, and you're going to get that. And I said, sweetie, you had your chance. I'm in so much pain right now that if they told me to go and wrestle an alligator at midnight under the full moon in the middle of Times Square to feel better, I would do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and take these vitamins. And sure enough, after being out of work for 2 years, I took that stuff. I was back to work within 4 months.
I'll be damned.
There you go.
Back to work and rocking and rolling ever since because of my vitamin therapy. So, you know, you have to, I'm not going to listen to what the medical people say because they don't want you to get better. Then they're out of business. I'm going to go ahead and investigate and do things. But you are correct about the chamomile. My sister, when she was pregnant, I think with her second child, ended up on bed rest after 7 months. And she didn't know why. Her cervix was dilating, so she had to be on bed rest. And she just drank, because she couldn't drink coffee or tea anymore, she would just drink gallons of chamomile tea every day.
Wow.
And it literally did compromise, you know, her cervix, and that's why she was on bed rest. But we didn't put it together until after she had the child. And I was looking in my book, Back to Eden, and it says that in the book, Back to Eden, you know, pregnant women shouldn't take it because it can cause the cervix to dilate. But we didn't see that until after, because I'd always thought that chamomile was extremely benign.
Right.
So she drank it all the time.
You know, it smells like apples. It's very
Yeah.
mild. You know, this kind of thing makes you sleepy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would think it would be benign, but you know, there are things that just aren't. You know, it's one of them. And the good news is, y'all will never ever again forget that chamomile. You know,
No.
pregnant women need to be careful with that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that is absolutely true.
Well, one of the things that I was trying to find out about is if there is a curse that you, how can you tell if there's a curse upon you, or if you just happen to be having some bad luck? Well, how can you tell?
You know, I think that there's always a slim possibility that, you know, someone has put a curse on you.
Right.
But chances are you are just being paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
And it's that paranoia
Mm-hmm.
that's actually cursing you. You know, you can be doing that to yourself.
I see that.
And, you know, the best way not to have a curse put on you is to make sure that you are protected.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people forget about protection magic.
Right.
Well, you know, that actually leads right into the next question is, what precautions should you take for yourself before casting a hex to protect yourself from a return volley, or just what can you do to protect yourself just to keep from being hexed yourself?
You know, I think everybody has their own style of doing things. You know, I like Florida water. I like it a lot. You know, before I work any kind of magic, because, you know, Florida water blesses and it protects. It does it like all at once. Okay? And so, you know, I like to, you know, wipe down things, you know, with Florida water. I like to put it on my hands and stuff. I like to wash my hands in it afterwards to knock off any residue. You know, some people like ward their house. You know, they have their own little ritual, you know, where they do that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a good relationship with the archangels.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And, you know, and I have 3 ladies that I work with. I work with Arula Bo, who's been taking care of me ever since I was a small child.
Mm-hmm.
I work with Our Lady of Perpetual Help, which is the Virgin Mary in that guise, who promised that she would never turn away anyone who came to her in need. And I work with the Great Goddess Incarnate. and they like each other, and they work well together. And so I cement my relationship with them. I talk to them every night. I talk to them every day, and they actually protect me. Some people don't realize that it is as simple as talking to your deities.
Right.
And your patrons and your patronesses. Some guy asked in a group the other day, if it was okay to ask for spiritual help with business. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't it be?
Right.
And so someone's saying, well, this and this and this and this and this and this, all this long drawn out stuff. And I said, or you can just, if you go to bed at night, you can just ask for it.
Right.
Period. When you say your bedtime prayers. And he went, oh, will that work? Honey, that's been working for me for years.
Right.
So, some people do their ritual. I ask for blessings for me, but I also ask for blessings for everybody else. And I ask to be protected against all danger and harm, all injury, illness, and evil. And it works for it works for me. Some people think that you might need to cast a protective circle, but before you do something, and that's fine. If that's your thing, that's fine. I seldom do that when I work magic, unless I feel like I'm getting ready to do something that could be dangerous. That could be represent a danger that I can't see.
Right.
If there's a danger I can see, I'm calling the cops. Okay.
Right.
There are a lot of things in the spiritual realm that are unseen, and so then I will do that. But this do you have a curse on you? Kind of thing. At one time, I think I did. But I didn't realize it until somebody else brought it up. I was, I have a black lab now, Dixie, but her predecessor, Sadie, was really my best friend. She outlasted husband.
Right.
I had her for 14 years. And I had gone on a tour, and my husband called and he said that Sadie was having trouble getting around. She was only about 4 or 5 years old at the time. And so he took her to the vet, and they x-rayed her, and they said that she had grade 4 hip dysplasia. And so it was like, that's interesting. And so, all this, they wanted to do surgery and all this kind of stuff. And so he says, well, you'll have to wait till my wife gets back because she knows about dogs and I really don't, and this kind of stuff. So they gave him medicine to give her. Well, Sadie was one of those dogs. You couldn't put the medicine in the pill pocket because she would find a way around it, and an hour later she'd spit out the pill.
Wow.
You would think you had to shove this stuff down her throat. And of course, that was traumatic for her. It was traumatic for she'd sit there and she'd let you do it, but you could tell, she didn't want that. And it was traumatic for us. And so he was giving her this medicine. And so I came home and went straight to the vet's office. And I looked at the x-ray. And, they were talking about doing some kind of surgery where they would shave off part of her hip bone and this and that. And, that was like in, 2000. And they wanted something like $6,000 to do that. And so on and so forth. And I told him, I said, I'm going to think about this. So on the way home, it just hit me. If you let them do this, you'll never be okay again.
Oh.
And so I walked in and I told Mark, I said, honey, we're not going to do this anymore. There's like no more medicine. We're not doing this. and we're not going to do the surgery. And I got to figure out what's going on. So a friend of mine called, and so I'm telling him, and he went, and I had been down in the back, too, and they had gotten me, they had stretched my vertebra enough so that I could actually walk while I was on tour. Mm-hmm. I had through all this physical therapy. And the fellow says, Morrison, this sounds like bad juju to me. And I said, what do you mean? Why would anybody do anything to me? I'm a nice person. Mm-hmm. And he said, honey, sometimes people just do things because they can.
That's right.
They want to see if they can. Mm-hmm. And this hits you first. And he said, I think Sadie took the second hit for you. Mm-hmm. And so I did. So, the more I thought about that, it was like, well, you know what? It wouldn't hurt to see what we could do about this. Let's see if it really is. I did a swifting of energy, and the next day, my dog was jumping in the back of the truck and swimming again.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, it never occurs to me that somebody might curse me because I'm a little bit arrogant, I guess. Mm-hmm. but yeah.
Good for you.
Obviously he was right. But the swifting took care of it. Mm-hmm. And so, it's like, that was just one of those things. But I'm 60 years old, and I think that's the only time in my life that I could say somebody cursed me.
Right. Well, before I ask you I was going to ask you another question, but I remembered I promised someone who chooses to remain anonymous to ask you a question where this person is saying that there's a group of witches that are cursing him. I don't know anything about this story. This is actually someone who contacted me and asked me to ask about, he says he paid some witches to do some work for him and they didn't do it, so he stopped paying, and now they're cursing him and hexing him and blah, blah, blah. So the question is, how do you defend yourself from a group of people as opposed to just the person?
Okay. Well, so apparently they're still cursing and hexing him, and he's still having a run of bad luck. Mm-hmm. Okay, you know what? Let's not talk about defending him right now against them. Let's talk about getting that off of him. Mm-hmm. Okay? So he needs to do that swifting of energy.
Okay.
To get that off of him. Mm-hmm. And then, is he a magical practitioner, or do you know?
He said that he's studying. He didn't say I'm a practitioner. I get the impression that he's just starting out.
Okay. Well, one of the things that, if he's studying and he's just starting out, one of the first things that you're generally taught is how to shield yourself. Mm-hmm. And so he needs to practice keeping his shields up. And, one of the easy ways to do this that I used to, share with my neophytes is you put yourself in a bubble. You see yourself in a bubble. And, you can see through it, but it's reflective. Mm-hmm. Almost like a soap bubble. Pretend you're Glenda.
Right.
and you can move and so on and so forth in it, but this is your shield. It goes all the way around you. It's like a sphere, and eventually, when you get up in the morning, you visualize it. Mm-hmm. Put yourself in the bubble. Some people, it's easier to visualize a blue star as tall as they are on their back, and they literally fold the points around them and under and over. Mm-hmm. And that that will protect them. But yeah, he needs to shield. But I can promise you that once he does that swifting,
Okay.
There are also other things too that he can do if he, sometimes people think that my solutions are too simple and they won't work. Well, sometimes the most basic, most simple thing works the best.
Mm-hmm.
However, he can also do a little uncrossing ritual.
Mm-hmm.
It's an uncrossing candle. Dress it with uncrossing oil. I've got something great called Tornado Alley. Whatever his local shop has, and he can uncross himself.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing so bad that it can't be undone.
Right. I will certainly convey all of this information to him and tell him to buy your book immediately to help himself, because he should, if he's being attacked or he feels he's being attacked and you want to start doing this, and you do need to know how to defend yourself. So I think this will be an excellent tutorial for him.
Right, to learn to buy the book and learn it himself. Yeah. I wanted to kind of find out, do you feel that it's true that cursing someone in self-defense will bring that curse back upon you? Because a lot of people believe that, especially, as you say, with Wiccans,
I don't believe that, not for 1 minute. And I'm not, I guess that's, comes from the old adage, what goes around comes around, or,
right.
There are some particular craft religions that, Wiccans, with the 3 times 3, and, 3 times is good, 3 times bad, it comes back.
Right.
I think if you are right in what you do, that nothing comes back on you. I have never, ever had anything come back on me. However, when I have not defended myself, yes, I have had people keep on with the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't buy that. I don't. I do think that we should strive to be the best possible people we can be every day.
Right.
And but I also feel that we have a responsibility to stand up for ourselves and not be trumped on. So no, I do not believe that. I think that's a load of crap.
Yeah. I was thinking as you were talking, sometimes things just occur to me. And I wonder if some people, if it's not so much that they're afraid to do the curse, it could be that they know themselves enough that they just might really like doing this too much. Because I know, see, when I was younger, I was not always the sweet, wonderful goddess that you know right now. I went through. I know it's hard to believe. But when I was a child, I would hit first and ask questions later. I would just swing on you. And when I was a young adult, my motto was, never miss an opportunity to be a bitch. Now, because I have changed and matured, and now I'm this wonderful being, there's a lot of me that doesn't want to go back there, because I'm going to turn into Kali, and I'm just not going to stop. I'm just going to embrace that darkness a little bit too much. So I think some of us might be afraid of ourselves and what this could actually open up for us, as opposed to just being afraid of getting it back 3 times. What do you guys think about that?
I think maybe. I see your point. But that's kind of godlike. Do you know that in the Bible there are more curses than there are blessings?
Yeah,
there are. Absolutely.
It's almost like once God cursed Adam and Eve, he got he decided he liked it and got the hang of it and just kept right on with it. I think
that's so true.
With any kind of magic, I think that you have to have a level head.
Mm-hmm.
And a good practitioner has an exorbitant amount of self-control. You have to if you're going to, transform energy, if you're going to move and direct it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think we have to know, when it's reached its peak, so we don't reach the boil over level.
Right. Right. You do have to have a level of control. No different than when you buy a gun. You can't just go out there and start shooting people. You have to be responsible, clean the gun, put it away, and
Exactly.
only use it as the last resort.
Those are all the licensed people like myself. I made sure I did everything the right way, and I've never actually had to use it, except to threaten. But
but you have it in case you do have to use it.
Right, and that was awesome. But in going back to what you just said, Goddess Rhonda, it's interesting because part of it, I believe that people tend to, I wouldn't say false front so much as because they would say verbally, I will not do those kind of things or whatever it is, but underneath, they're the kind of person that would, if someone does them something without realizing it, they think, oh, I'm going to do so and so and so. The minute you start thinking, part of it is that spell. So
right.
if you are thinking and finding out ways to do whatever it is, and from the very beginning, you actually have seen some spells start working from the time you start thinking of how to create whatever that spell is.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, some people have a false front, even with themselves. They don't know themselves well enough to know that, you may say verbally one thing, but you and I both know behind the back or whatever it is, there you are you've done many a curses and without realizing it or realizing it.
Right.
Because if you walk away and you start thinking about all those things,
You get to be about 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier. You really have to watch what you're thinking.
Right.
Right.
To happen.
Yes.
When I moved to Missouri, my then husband had a business associate and he and his wife, we'd known them for a while. He and his wife came over, and at that point in time, the then husband, as a hobby, was smithing silver, and we were doing jewelry on the side with crystals, and I was giving crystal lectures. Mm-hmm. And so the wife wanted to see the jewelry. I pulled it out, and she kept looking at it real funny and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then she said to me, crystals are the devil's plaything.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, boy.
And I said, what? And I'm going, no, honey, blah, 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 blah. So, all right. The next day, the then husband calls me. He's at work. It's like this new job. And he calls me and he says, Dorothy, we have a serious problem. And I said, well, what is it? And, and he said, everybody here thinks we're Satanists. I said, Satanist? You're just a backsliding Baptist. What on earth? He said, well, this is going around, it's creating a problem, blah, 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 blah. And so I just laughed it off. I thought it was no big deal. And then, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, his son comes home from school. His son's like in the 4th grade, I guess. And then there's a knock on the door, and it's Child Protective Services.
Ooh.
And we really had just moved to town. We had moved from California. I had sold the furniture. We had ordered new furniture. It wasn't going to be delivered for 2 days. And so we've got pretty much an empty house. We're sleeping on air mattresses. And so in comes this social worker, and she wants to see the kid. And so fine. Well, he was kind of a smart-ass child, and it was the only time that mouthiness paid off. He was playing Nintendo. And he had just reached a new level, and he didn't want to lose his place or his score. Mm. So he didn't want to talk to them. And they watched that play out. And you know what? Children who are being abused don't act like that.
Right.
So, anyway, she talks to him, and she looks all through the house, and the air mattresses are made up, and she looks in my refrigerator and my cabinets to see if there's food in there. And all this stuff, she was there for an hour and a half.
Wow.
And of course, that scared me to death. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it all, she said, I'm really, really sorry. Obviously, there's been some terrible mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yes, there certainly has. So she leaves. I am furious. I am fit to be tied because I know exactly who did this.
Right.
And all I can think is, it would have been so much better if you just fallen down my front steps on the way out and broken your fucking neck.
Wow. I can dig it.
An hour later, the phone rings. It's that woman.
Yeah.
She has fallen down her basement stairs and broken her leg, and I have to take her to the emergency room.
Oh, my goodness. Did you take her?
So let's be careful.
Hey, wow. That is hilarious. Did you actually take her to the emergency room?
I did it.
Wow.
You know, I mean, it was like, okay, Dorothy, you just got your comeuppance.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. You know, I took her. You know, what was I going to do?
Right.
I really kind of, you know, and there are people say, oh, well, Dorothy, you know, that's just a coincidence. No, I don't believe in coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did it. So I
Good
take
for
her to the
you.
car. Done.
Well, you know, we only have 4 minutes left, but I can't let you go without just saying, you know, because I just wanted to say I really like the business section of the book. And I know there's a lot of us out there, so we're just going to touch on it just very quickly. There's a lot of us out there that are professional witches. We do this full time and we offer services. And a lot of times, you know, there are people that don't pay us, or they get their services, they get their wish and they don't make the payment or whatever. So you've got some really good business debt collection spells out there that I really, really like. And I wanted to bring that up for anyone who does professional services to please get this book, because, you know, we don't have spiritual bill collectors. You know, who are we going to call? And this way you can really handle things your own self. And there's some really good stuff in there that's going to help you get paid. So please, 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 especially if you're in a business, definitely get this book, because the spiritual debt collection things in there are just really awesome. I will be employing them myself, actually.
Me too. Me too.
A word of advice to your listeners out there who have businesses, and you know, and deal like in readings and so on and so forth. And some of you probably do magical work for other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's payment up front.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, you know, magic always works, but your client is not always honest with you about what it is they want.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know.
You know,
yes.
And so, you know, when they say, well, you know, we'll see if this works and I'll pay you, say, no, it doesn't work like that.
Right.
You know, you pay me, I'll do this work. When I complete the work, I will send you a report of what I've done and what you can expect.
Right. I agree. That's really sound advice. Well, Goddess Dorothy, I am truly hoping that you will agree to come back again, because I think we have like 12 more books to cover that we have to do of yours. So I think we can actually just pretty much have you for 2016, and you can just be our guest, and then we can just cover every book, because your books are brilliant.
They're fascinating. They really are.
I love them. They're so well written. They're so well researched. And what I really like is that you took the time to put the precautions in, because a lot of books don't do that. It's just like, go out there and cast a spell and there's no precautions. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything's just going to be fine. And a lot of people, especially if they're new, they don't know what they're doing, and they actually end up in worse trouble than they started from. So just the ethical standards of your book are just awesome, truly.
And one thing I do have to add to that is, along with the ethics and everything else, I like how you write it. It's not some of the pagan books that we read are very dry, if that's the word.
Very dry.
Very hard to take. And there's a lot of information in there. It's just that, and a lot of great insight. It's just that it's so dry, you can't deal with it. And I love that you have a sense of humor with it. It's almost reads as if you're standing in front of me and you're talking to me. girl to girl, you know what I mean? And you're just giving me the information and you're saying, and this is also this, and the instructions and everything, and it's all there for real. And I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I've got a big head. I'm glad I don't have on a t-shirt or I'd have to cut it off for me.
That's okay. You know what? Some people deserve to have a big head, and you're one of them. So that's perfectly fine. So we're going to go ahead, close out our circle. Hail and farewell, our lords and ladies of the elements and the directions. We thank you so much for your kind service, and release your energy back to its source, and blessed be. And I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, joining us in the chat room, listening to Goddess Dorothy. You're really just awesome, Dorothy. I want you to know that, and I really hope that you'll come back to us again. Please.
I would love to. Thank you so much, and have a great night.
You too, Goddess. You take good care, and thank you again.
Yeah, you are. Thank you so much. Oh, and Merry Meet.
And yes,
the circle is open but never broken. Merry Meet.
Merry
part. And Merry Meet again. Thank you so much, Dorothy. Oh my goodness.
Everyone, take care. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Have a great week, and happy full moon. Tons of full moon blessings to you, prosperity, good health, energy, and whatever it is that you need to be made manifest. So mote it be.
So mote it be. And and I forgot, we're not going to see you guys until next Monday. So happy Samhain.
Happy Samhain as well.
New Year. Everything all at once.
Everything all at once.
Yes.
All right, everyone. You take care, and thank you again. And we will see you again next week. Namaste.
Bye.
Bye-bye.